It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Hey, I wanted to call Chris Cooper over at Clover Imaging Group, and I said, Chris, I had Robbie Clark from Nashville, and he owns a company called A to Z Resources, and I wanted him to come back on the end of the day with Ray because he had made a comment on one of my videos, the video I did about culture. I loved his comment, and I said, I want to dig deeper into the culture of this company down there in Nashville. Chris, I appreciate you reaching out to Robbie and letting him come back on the end of the day with Ray. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Ray. Thanks for having me. I think with the success and the comments and the commentary from the first call with Robbie and A to Z and looking through some of the feedback, we wanted to get Robbie back today and talk a little bit about the success we had after that call and engagement we had. And it's good to have Robbie, giving feedback and comments on the original call. So we're glad to have him, and thanks for having me back on.
Well, I wanted to ask you real quick, Chris. Jim Serkleski, the one and only, did a great webinar on the PP programs that you all have going on, and I know you guys are just killing it with that product. So how's everything been since the webinar? Are you still doing a lot of business in that area?
Yeah, we had a tremendous July, and not only with A to Z, but across the board. It's still, I don't want to say it amazes me today because we're living it every day with the amount of sales we have in this category. We continue to grow and continue to expand with new items. We're selling dispensers now, sanitizer dispensers. We're launching a new white program. So it continues to grow and expand. And Robbie, the guys down there at A to Z, jumped in wholeheartedly with us. We saw a 90% increase in sales last month with A to Z from July to June. So we appreciate not only what Robbie's doing for us on the PPE side, but also just on the imaging side. I mean, we had a tremendous month on the imaging side. And, we are seeing an uptick in sales across the board with our dealers, but we're not seeing an uptick with A to Z. What we're seeing is exponential growth. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That we appreciate it, and we're glad to have this forum to talk about the Clover partnership with A to Z and the Clover partnership with you, Ray. So thanks for having me, and I'm going to turn it over and let you kind of talk to the man of the hour, Mr. Robbie Clark.
All right, hey, I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks again. Robbie, how's it going, man?
Going great, right?
Well, Robbie, you put that comment on my post when I did the thing about the culture. Some of these cultures are getting way out of whack, and people don't quite understand culture. But obviously you do. We had a little bit of a talk about that. And I wanted you to share the story because, what Robbie and his team have done down there at AZ in Nashville is pretty interesting, and how we brought generational cultures together. So why don't you share a little bit about that story and how you saw your company transitioning based on the generations?
Okay. I think what prompted me to comment, you were talking a lot about business strategies and game plans and, having a real good execution of those game plans. And my comment was that, the culture change has to come first. Mm-hmm. And I know that from experience. I've been here about 15 years, and we fought a stagnant culture here for a long, long time. And even the best strategies, the best game plans they get sidetracked by culture. And it's tough to bring a culture back to life if you've got a stagnant culture. With a game plan or with a strategy, the culture change has to come first. And that was my point. And that's relationships within the company. That's relationships with your customers. And it's also relationships with your vendors. I believe wholeheartedly that's one of the reasons that we've had so much success with Clover in a lot of different areas. Chris and Keith and some of the other guys over there that we've worked with over the years, they fit our culture here. They work with us. We have a lot of trust in those guys, and we have really good communication with them, and it just works. It clicks. Mm-hmm. In a stagnant culture, you've got resistance to change, and you not only have resistance to change, but you have a lack of trust within the company, and you have poor communications. And when you try to bring in a new generation of people, especially, we tagged them with the term millennial, but when you try to bring those younger people in, it's kind of like oil and water at first. Mm-hmm. And that has to be facilitated by leadership. You have to facilitate the trust between the generations. You have to facilitate that communication. The younger folks have to come in and they have to respect the history of the company. They have to respect the past. They can't, discount the things that got the company where they are today. Without the past and without the history, they don't get an opportunity to come in and prove themselves. The legacy culture also has to respect that the incoming generation has a lot to offer. They're very passionate, very creative. They want to make a difference in the world. They want to make a difference in the company. And, getting those two levels of respect off the bat, facilitating that helps a lot with the trust, a lot with the communications. Had a lot of companies tell me that, I've hired millennials. They don't want to work. They aren't interested in learning. They're too emotional.
Sounds like a leadership problem to me.
It's a leadership problem. It really is, and it takes a little time to understand that, but that's not true at all. You just have to figure out how to uncover what they have to offer, and when you do uncover that, it's really an incredible talent pool there. We a couple years ago brought in about 20 or so of our younger employees from across the company. We sat with them in a focus group for a couple of days, and we asked them, how do we keep you here? How do we hire your friends? And how do we sell to people that are in your generation, people that think like you and believe like you? And we sat for a couple of days and we just listened, and we learned a lot. And then we put that in place. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been recruiting for culture, not for talent, not for industry experience, but for culture. We've got some fantastic people. I can teach them office supplies. I can teach them, whatever job function I need, but I can't teach culture. So our recruiting has moved toward that. Into the companies that just can't figure it out. They've thrown their hands up. You got to figure it out. Not only for the future of your own company and the incoming talent to attract and retain that, but your customers are recruiting and retaining the same generation of people. And if you can't figure out how to communicate across generational lines within your own company, you're not going to be able to communicate with your customers as well. So that's extremely important that leaders figure that out. The beauty of this is that the incoming generation of buyers and decision makers at our customers are a lot more receptive to doing business with us because of who we are as a company and what we stand for. The message we tell them matters. They aren't just price focused. In fact, price is way down on their list. They want business partners that reflect their values and their purpose, and that's who they're going to do business with. And once you've established that team across generational lines in your company, it becomes a lot less important to have a flawless plan or a flawless strategy or to execute that flawlessly. It just sort of happens. And I told you one of the stories from early on in the pandemic. We ran out of masks as one of the first things we ran out of. Our typical suppliers didn't have the masks that our customers needed. And our facility supply category manager, who is a younger generation, and our purchasing manager, who's a little bit of an older generation, they have a really good working relationship. They communicate well. And they found a local trophy shop, just an award shop, here in town that had been a little visionary and brought in about 10,000 masks. And they came to me and said, "Hey, can we buy from this guy?" And they already had all the logistics of the purchase from a new vendor figured out before they came to me. We bought those masks and were able to get them out to our sales force, and I think we sold through them in about 24 hours.
Wow.
So, that's the kind of thing that happens automatically when that teamwork and that culture is in place.
It's kind of interesting because we were talking a little earlier and you were telling me that you're actually ahead of last year. So if you look at your sales from last year, you're actually ahead of that. Very few people with inside what we would define as the imaging channel could say that. Even some IT service providers are struggling with that. So how did your culture, I think this trophy shop story is an example of that, but is it based on your culture that your team just said, we don't really care there's a pandemic. We care about our customers. We're flexible enough to change the way we do business with our customers. We can think fast on our feet, and we can work together as generational. We have no generational gap. I mean, that's amazing to me. So.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. We had a lot of momentum before the pandemic. Now, I'm not going to tell you we didn't take a hit. We took a big hit when it started, but we bounced back really quick. One of the reasons that we bounced back, the primary reason we bounced back was just that our people have been empowered to work together and come up with solutions. I couldn't come up with enough solutions. The other managers couldn't come up with enough solutions in a month of meetings, but these guys were able to take, just upon themselves and come up with some solutions that really made a difference. We're down in some areas. We're still down in contract furniture. We're still down in traditional office supplies, but we're up almost 50% in our Jansan market in PPE, and we're actually up in toner and ink and, things like that. So a really interesting side effect of the momentum that we had is during the pandemic, our business development team continued to pick up new business. They continued to set appointments and go out and win that. And we've picked up, I saw some of the numbers the other day from our business development manager. We picked up somewhere in north of 300 new customers during the worst 3 months of the pandemic.
Wow.
And, that team is going to be responsible for probably about $1 million in sales this year. So.
You know what's interesting, Robbie, and I was talking to someone earlier today, and when you look at the office products resellers group as an industry, because they actually sell so many products, it's impossible for y'all to be product centric. And if you think about, the imaging channel where they're selling they sell printers, they sell equipment, and that's been one of my criticisms of that channel. We got to get more open. We got to start selling more solutions. And it looks to me like your team, it wasn't about pens or pencils. It was about what do the customers need right now and how do we facilitate those needs, and let's have some broader conversations. So, these are great stories, home run, and your culture down there in Nashville obviously has been tremendous for your company. You're a great, stable company in the marketplace, and I want to have you back on and talk to you again one day. But I wanted to ask you a question because I think the number's a big number, and we hadn't prepared for this. But what is the average revenue per customer for A to Z Resources, if you had to average it out?
We have some pretty big customers, and we have some really small customers. It takes all. When you average that out, it's in the $2,500 to $3,000 range per month.
Wow.
Per customer, and that's usually a pretty good mix of all products that we sell. Our account managers have done a pretty good job of penetrating those accounts for the most part, and they typically mirror our percentages of product reach for the whole company.
Folks, that's a big number. A lot of people will say, oh yeah, but $2,500 a month, but how much profit's in it? Well, if your average is only about 300 and you got, 100% profit in it, if he's got 5, he's got more. So, what the reality of it is, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I want to talk to you some more and more. Let's bring Chris back out here if he's still there. Chris, you still around? There he is. Chris, I appreciate, I appreciate you bringing Robbie, connecting Robbie with us back on the air today with the end of the day with Ray. And, Chris, I want to reach out to some more of your friends in the Office Products Group. I've talked a lot about the imaging channel, but this is an industry that's really intriguing me the more I look at it. And I see folks like Robbie out there knocking it out of the park, focusing on their cultures, focusing on their teams. And congratulations to you and the team. I cannot wait to come to Nashville in person and, look around for myself. I look forward to that day, Robbie. And,
looking forward to it.
Yeah. Chris, you got anything to add before we end?
No, I just want to say thank you and echo a couple things that Robbie said and Ray, you said too. I think, some of the fit and the culture fit for Clover and A to Z and in the Office Products channel in general, the guys that are surviving, the dealers that are thriving, they are thinking fast. They're changing directions. They're selling solutions. And I think that our dealer base is seeing the same thing from Clover. With the addition of PPE, during this pandemic, we're launching a new program called Clover Imaging Alliance. We're having dealers sign up for that. It's a very aggressive program. Robbie's engaged on that. And then the addition of barcode supplies and wide format, especially printing. So all the things we're doing as well to thrive and to partner with dealers like Robbie I think that's where the fit is for us, and the OP channel is doing a great job. So, we appreciate the forum. Robbie, thanks for coming on, and I hope everyone has a good week. Thank you.
Well, I would say we got to continue because we got to create the new normal, as I say. My friends, I'm going to end this the way I always do. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Robbie.